Sorry, Hank. I just started the recording. Thank you for the reminder. So Ken has made a motion to approve the minutes with that one minor correction, being that the wood chips are hoping to be donated rather than purchased, and that was what Pam had indicated in the April meeting. Ben seconded the motion. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, I'll just go through the list here. Ken?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Mike?
Aye.
Tom?
Yep.
Pam?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so the minutes are approved. Let me know if I miss anyone. For some reason, I can't get to my normal view where I can see everyone, but I think that's it. I think that's everyone. Okay, so the minutes are approved. And then the next, okay, so Will says he's going to issue that correction. Thanks, Will. The next item on the agenda was Jackson Falls. And first, we wanted to go through our plans for work at the falls in 2021, as we had discussed a couple of weeks ago. Did everyone get a chance to look at the summary I typed up and confirm that was accurate based on the discussion that we had? Did I miss anything there? It is in the email that I sent out with the agenda.
Jeff, I think it might make sense to go back after Barbara's given us an update with the meeting with the selectmen just to see if there's any changes there.
That's a good idea. Yeah, we could do that. We could jump to an update and then modify this list as necessary. So I guess with that in mind, Barb, did you have an update to share with the commission?
Yes, very happily I do. And thank you for letting me in on this tonight. I just wanted to let you all know what has happened since the last time we kind of all met together. I must say, and I hope that this is going to happen really soon, that because we did have a face-to-face meeting, myself and a couple of members of our committee, the DOT, the chief of police, our road agent, all got together at the falls and talked about, with DOT especially, measuring, doing the line away from the middle line, middle line with DOT possession, et cetera. DOT was wonderful and telling us that we could put, as a town, no parking signs any place we really wanted to, even within the 25 feet from the line. So I don't know how many of you have been up there, but 2 days after the meeting, I went to the selectmen. We talked about what had been okayed with DOT and with the road agent as well. And 2 days later, the signs were up. So I think there's something to be said to face-to-face meetings when everybody is on the same page because you're all looking at one another and talking the same language. So that was pretty awesome. If you have been by the falls, I don't think that I thought it was I was afraid of what it was going to look like because I thought it was going to, as you were driving up, all you would see was no parking, no parking, no parking. But everything has been set back and facing so that there's no way you can pull off the pavement and not be in an area where it says no parking. And it's clearly marked that it is a tow zone as well. Above, we also had permission as far as at the upper part of the falls to designate 3 to 4 parking areas for resident-only parking. This is something we still have to, once the selectmen they pretty much have gone along with it, but we do have to order signage, and we will have, we're also suggesting decals that are permanent decals to go on the car. You have to be a resident in order to park there. Not a second homeowner, you have to be a voting resident in Jackson. And when they give out the stickers, they will be checked against the voter list and they'll be numbered just like the tickets to the transfer station. Another thing is that the selectmen agreed with a 2-hour maximum parking time. The police feel that they can monitor that by every 2 hours taking a photograph of the cars that are there, because you're no longer allowed to chalk tires. The other was that, which one more? Sorry. Timed and today I met with Kathleen from the Chamber of Commerce and suggested she looked at the different sites where Jackson Falls is mentioned. And if you have ever really looked at any of the sites, it's pretty incredible. If you go to New Hampshire Safe, you can look up the waterfalls of New Hampshire, and at Jackson Falls, it says picnic tables, no hiking. It's right on the road. You know, it is so inviting to be there. So the verbiage she changed about what we're doing so that people can really be on top of what's happening. And when they look to any of the New Hampshire sites, the verbiage will be changing. And Kathleen is doing that wording tonight. She'll get it back to for us to look over. And then she's sending it directly to the state of New Hampshire because they're the ones that do all of the different sites. So I think, you know, in a short time, I think we've come a long way. I think that the bridge construction on Valley Cross Road is going to help a great deal as well as a deterrent. And I think that with the proper information going out about Jackson Falls, that it is limited parking, very limited parking. And with the also access parking at there's really only 2 other places in town that are public parking. And that's near the new library and also above the town hall. And I think with information going out, et cetera, I really hope that we're going to be able to nip it in the bud before Memorial Day and just to do everything we possibly can to protect the falls.
Barbara, do you know what the time frame is on the designated spots for residents?
I think it's going to, hopefully it's going to be before Memorial Day because I have sent the letter out to the selectmen. And
if they're timed parking at the resident spot.
There will be time there as well?
Yes.
And where they're going to locate those, are those going to be parallel to the road, or are those going to be pull-in up?
They're going to be pull-in. They'll be pull-in, Ken, just like they have been in the past, because that way we're really in the proper spot to be. Right now they're blocked by tree branches, which is perfect because no one can pull in there.
But those are going to be up near where the
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the question I have on those where you pull in, because with 4 cars, and I haven't measured it out, but you may have a lot of parking on the roots of the trees there. That's one thing.
Well, I think that's one of the things we have to look at because we really said 2 to 3. We never said 4.
Yeah, because you kill the trees there. Yeah,
because then what we did was it's actually, if you walk into the spot, it's there's a boulder right there that is guarding that tree, and that would be the boundary right there. And after that, there's practically nothing. It's pretty empty space.
And then the second question, and I did watch the video of the selectmen's meeting. I wasn't able to attend it, but is there going to be parking down across from the Wentworth, or is that just Wentworth?
No, that's another thing that has come up, and it's really been a real thorn in Ellie's side because that it does belong there. I have hooked Ellie up with DOT as far as guidance as what she can do as far as parking is concerned, you know, no parking, because they're going to have a ton of weddings this summer, you know, with everything loosening up a bit. And she's really worried about where her people are going to park. So
So that's going to be illegal for Jackson Falls folks to park down there, is that correct?
It will,
And that will only be parking for the Wentworth?
yes. And I think she's been very good about, on Sunday mornings, the church parking and stuff like that. I don't think that's going to be the problem. I think it's basically on the weekends when she's going to have a wedding.
Yeah.
And just one last thing, because I'd really like to have our committee involved in it. If you're planning on any kind of a cleanup area or the help when you're doing anything at the falls, please let us know so that we can lend a hand as well. And that's it.
Great. Thanks for the update, Barb, and for all your work there. Sounds like you've got things mostly under control, and we do, we always have plans to do work at the falls at some point over the next month or two. And so we can definitely keep you in the loop on when we plan to go out and do that. It might make sense to do a cleanup at the same time.
Please do, because the members of the committee are very, very interested in the falls, hence they're being on the committee to begin with. We really want to help as much as we possibly can. So thank you for all you do, and we're just trying to help.
Hey, Barbara.
Hi, Pam.
Hi there. I know I'd asked you before about the parking going down Valley Cross. I just feel like, I know you said the bridge is going to be worked on this summer. I just know that from last summer, there were like a dozen cars parked up that road, up to the tennis courts. And
Yeah, you're right, Pam, but the signage on Valley Cross Road is very clear. And, oh, I know the other thing. And the police are very much aware of that. So they're going to be really watching that.
Okay, maybe they can't put signs in while they're going to do the construction. But, yeah, it just seems like, you're going to have all these good signage, before the bridge and on the falls. But then on the other side, there's maybe a couple of signs. And that's pretty much it. But you mean beyond?
Are you meaning beyond on Carter Notch Road, or actually on Valley Cross? Valley Cross, there's not going to be any parking at all.
Well, on Valley Cross, there aren't any parking signs. After the first couple, after the bridge, there's two. There's one on either side, and then there's nothing up to you get to the fire pond.
Well, the fire pond is, and also the tennis court. Their signage is going to be very obvious too. Right,
but there's going to be that lane that's that's where people were parking last year. There were like a dozen cars parked right where there are no parking signs now. No parking signs.
no parking signs.
Right, exactly.
But that's going to be monitored, because if the bridge is they're not going to have access. So my thinking with the bridge being under construction is if you're up on the Black Mountain Road, as you enter, it's going to say road closed. Right.
That's true.
So I think that's going to be to our benefit. And in all actuality, they could also park, if they have any sense or know about the parking lot that they use for Jackson ski touring. Right. That would be an option for them. But I would think that road is going to say no road closed, and it will only be the residents that are going to be able to go down there, and the tennis people.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, and I think, as I mentioned prior, the Ski Touring Foundation is going to continue to attempt to keep mowing the wave complex system of trails as a walking trail. Consequently, advertising that as parking for Jackson Falls would be counter to that effort.
I agree, and that's not even that really isn't even advertised. That's not even one of the sites that we're recommending if people are looking for alternative parking, Ken.
And there's quite a few people that are already parking and walking those trails.
Yeah, they are. But I think the road closed sort of deterrent thing will be workable too.
Thanks, Barbara.
And just one more thing, that the selectmen also did approve that people that do not adhere to the no parking signs, the fine has been raised to $50.
I had a question. Sorry, I just had a question about the parking down at the Wentworth. Could you run through that one more time? That's so on the river side, it'll be marked for Wentworth only. Is that correct?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
that's what we're trying to do. And especially predominantly on weekends because of the overflow. And if it's a busy summer, I mean, that's her parking. So she is working with DOT on that. So
Yeah.
I think it would become very clear. But like I say, you know, the Jackson residents are just as much offenders of parking there as anybody else. And, you know, when they go to church, when they go to the library, when they walk the mile, but she's been more than good about letting people park there. It's just to deter them when there's going to be a lot of parking that she needs.
I think that is fine, ultimately. I was just wondering, I feel like our group has kind of word of mouth for years said that there's actually a deeded access down there to the public. And I'm wondering if that's just a footpath to the lower falls, or if that included the parking area, or if that has been looked at. You know, like
it's just last year she actually, you know, because she does own the land that the gazebo is on, you know, across next to the old dance studio. Okay, just above her parking.
Yeah.
I mean, there were people pulling in there and picnicking and using the river there when there were chairs set up for a wedding. I mean, she just had a horrendous time last year.
I understand, and I don't want to really stir the boat too much, but my understanding was there is a deeded public right-of-way across that land to the lower falls, separate from the parking issues and getting in the way of weddings. And I guess I just want that to be on the record if that's the truth, that there is a deeded public right-of-way down there.
I don't think there is.
I think there's an easement, and we'd have to get it. It's probably in our records, Barb.
Probably. It probably is from the Falls records too, because all that land, when it was signed over from the Mallets, with all the signage, that's what was used in order to determine that the actual parking area. But because, you know, where that little yellow garage is, that was the old dance studio. And the access to the falls used to be for the Wentworth people because all of those buildings belong to them. But that's something to check out, Tom. I'll see if I can check that out with some of the people that were on the original committee.
Yeah, I obviously would like them to have their parking if they need it. I would just, maybe there's a way to also maintain the public right of way for the not wedding times, or, you know, whatever the.
And what right of way are you talking about between where the old parsonage was and the dance studio?
No, my understanding was basically starting at the historic markers that the Historical Society put up, like snow smusher and everything, that there's a public right of way from there up, basically where they put the chairs for the weddings at the gazebo, up to the old grist mill at the bottom of the falls, and then accessing the old pool area at the bottom of the falls. And it was, that's still a public right of way over the land that the Wentworth owns.
Larry used to tell us that the parking area, we had an easement there too, but you know, I've never really looked at what the easement says.
I looked at the easement, but it was too long ago to remember, but I do recall, because, you know, when Barbara's committee was looking at this, there was the question of whether you could, some people were raising the question about whether you could just have the falls for Jackson residents only. And what I do recollect in the easement was that was not doable legally. But that doesn't answer the question that Tom has out there, but that document is out there.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. We'll find that out. I think though the least amount, you know, walking up the road and everything else is fine. I mean, I feel really badly for the people that actually live in those two houses, the old parsonage and the pink house, because people walk right in their driveways. I mean, it's unbelievable, but we have to start somewhere. And I think that the more that we can deter that kind of traffic away from the falls and make it a destination that people really want to get to, and not because of just how close its proximity to the road, to make it a national park, you know, where people just come for the day. And I think that's what we're trying to change in the verbiage of the descriptions and everything else, just to save it, because if we have another summer like last summer, it's just deplorable.
Dick, do you know when they're going to start the bridge work and what's the estimated time that it will be closed?
What I heard from Pat, and Pat's keeping me in the loop, and I'm sure that then I can let all of you know as well when he lets me know, is the DOT still has not gotten back to him on the start date. And as soon as it does, he will.
Pam, did you have something you were going to say, or was it? I thought I heard something from either Pam or Dick's square lit up for a second.
Yeah, I was wondering what the status of the sign that's going in is, because I think we spoke about emphasizing the carry in and carry out. At some point, somebody suggested putting barrels out. I don't think we're going to do that. Barrels get abused. I mean, people are going to empty out their car and it'll become a sanitation problem day to day, or, you know, every day that they're there. But we thought that emphasizing the carry in and carry out aspect of visiting would be really important. So I was hoping that was on the sign and in big neon letters.
When I talked with Kathleen today, I will tell you that that is going to be in the verbiage, the change in verbiage on the internet. Carry in, carry out. But I know that there's work being done on a sign, an informational sign that's going to be at the falls, and I can't wait to see that. That's going to be great.
Yeah, while we're on that, Mike, do you have any updates there?
Sure. I didn't know if I should jump ahead or wait till it comes up, but I can jump ahead. So I can answer, I guess, some of those questions. I do have, so I have Larry Garland was very kind enough to put together a Jackson Falls vector map. So we have that. He's waiting for us to see if there's any other call outs or things to be highlighted on that map. And so one of the things we were waiting on was certainly if indeed there is resident only parking, that should be something that is put on that map. Another thing was just a few kind of aesthetic things, as well as kind of, I think he had shown a little piece of the trail that I think we've talked about closing off when we were at the work session the other day. So having that kind of removed, just a small red line there. And then as far as the sign goes, I can tell you the three kind of things that we talked about having on there, the kind of the 3 bullet points, and perhaps this will change based out of the discussion we're having tonight. And some of the things from the Save Jackson Falls Committee is we had talked about having the first bullet saying that is open from sunrise to sunset every day. Second bullet was please use designated trails while on the property. And then the third bullet was this is a pack in, pack out facility. Dogs are welcome, but please dispose of all trash and waste properly. So those were the 3 things we had decided on. You know, I don't know if we want to change those. We can talk about that. We can figure it out. But those were from a previous meeting, I don't know, a couple months ago. Those were the kind of things that we decided to draw out. There was some talk at one point about having another bullet on the sign that talked about parking. As you know, like I think at one point we talked about, oh, should it say go park down below in front of the Wentworth? Obviously, that sounds like maybe should not say that. We also talked about it, you know, pointing people around the corner to the ski touring lot. Also sounds like that should not happen. So, but that's kind of where it's at right now. And I feel, you know, I've talked to Megaprint, and it's just as soon as we have the wordage we want, we'll send it over to them. And also, I'll very kindly ask Larry if he doesn't mind making a few quick changes on the map. And we talked about the basic layout is, you know, welcome Jackson Falls, a national wild and scenic river as a title, map on the left, 3 bullet points, and then some sort of closing tagline, you know, thank you for protecting the falls, so enjoy your visit, something like that. was the basic layout. I had a mock-up that I thought I passed around, but maybe I didn't. But we been told by Megaprint that for a very low fee, depending on how many hours it takes, that they will do design for us as well. So that they would design, do some graphic design for us, which would be good, as I am not a graphic designer by any means.
Mike, would we be able to get the final sign on site by, say, Memorial Day?
They told me that if it's just the sign, it's typically at 2 weeks. So I think at this point, it all kind of depends on how fast we get that information to them. So by Memorial Day, that's roughly 4 weeks from today. It's possible. I can reach out if we decide on the language tonight. Then I can reach out to Larry and ask for the updates to the map, and then get everything over to them as quick as we can. So it's possible. The other thing is we don't have a kiosk yet, so there's not anything for the sign to be attached to or hang on to anything, and so that would be the other component. We do have, I have a couple blueprints for kiosks. I have the blueprint that Upper Saco uses for all of their kiosks. I have the blueprint that the ATC uses for all of their kiosks. We'd also talked about standardization. So, part of this is, I think, like, once we put it up there and it looks like that, that's kind of the idea is that that's kind of what's going to be on, if we do any more kiosks anywhere, they should kind of match that. So we want to put a little thought into that. But certainly it'd be nice to have it by Memorial Day.
Well, we have a kiosk up at Prospect Farm with a map on it right now.
That is true. That is true. And I suppose this one will probably look different than that map.
Yeah.
So maybe it doesn't matter.
Isn't that one pretty big?
Prospect Farm is, yes.
Yeah.
I want to say that one's like 4x5 or 3x4 or something like that. It's pretty big.
And what were we looking at for the one at Jackson Falls?
I thought we talked about 2x3, but to be honest, I'm working on like four of these kiosk signs, and for work as well. So I'm getting a little confused as to what size this one is and which one's the Pine Hill community and which one's out of Bear Paw. So I think it's 2x3, but I'd have to look. Take a minute to look.
So, does anyone else have any suggestions on additional or different language that should be put on the sign? Those bullet points sound good to me, and I agree that it makes sense to keep it kind of as simple and straightforward as possible so you get the main points across. Any other suggestions from folks?
I'm certainly happy to send it out tonight so that sometimes it's easier for people to read it. So I'm certainly happy as soon as the meeting's over to send it out, and then if we can just get feedback in the next day or so, that'd be great. But I can do that when this meeting ends.
Mike, need relative to the kiosk itself, so that we can get that part going as well.
I'm sorry, Kenneth. Yeah, you broke up there. I didn't hear you on my end.
What else do you need from us relative to the kiosk to put the sign?
I think all I need is the language, and then from us, I think all we need is the language. From Larry, I'm going to ask for for just a few additions to the map.
No. What I was asking, because I thought Jeff had asked that question already, and you were going to send it out, and if people don't get back to you within the next day or two, then you've got the signed stuff for Larry to finish the map. You can move to the printer and whatever to get the sign finally made. But then there's the wooden kiosk. And my question is, how do we proceed to get that done as well?
Sorry, now I can hear what you're saying. Well, I suppose what we can do, I don't know, not to pass the buck here, but we do have two carpenters on our commission. So I would think sending plans to them, and then we would need to order materials, and either, I don't know, as a town, if we have to put that out to bid, if we can have volunteers, someone can come volunteer to build it. But it shouldn't be too complicated based on what I've seen, but I also don't make kiosks. So what I can do is I can send the blueprints to maybe Tom and Brian, and they can just look at them and they can give us an idea of how involved it is. I know that for some of the signs I'm working on, they're being built by high school students taking a woodshop class. So, and he told me that they can make it very quickly and very easily. So I would imagine that it wouldn't be difficult for us either. I guess I don't know as far as purchasing materials, that would need to happen real soon, as well as whether it's a volunteer or if we have to put it up to bid if we're actually paying someone to build the sign.
So it sounds to me like it might be kind of a long shot to get all that together to have the sign up by Memorial Day. Unless we can find some temporary way to display it without a kiosk, and I don't know what that would look like, but.
Well, if the high school students could build it the same as they are for Tin Mountain, then it's just a matter of buying the wood, is it not?
Yeah, and we could just vote on buying the materials.
Which is no different than when we were ordering sod. And then we would put into the Jackson Falls fund reimbursement, the same as we did with sod.
Right.
I can send the materials list as well when we finish.
I'm just looking at the blueprint plan or kiosk plan that you had sent before. I mean, that's a fairly straightforward structure. So I think it's more of just acquiring materials and getting it on site and pouring concrete, or how it would be anchored. I guess there needs to be a siding look of where we had planned on doing it, of how it would be anchored would be my biggest. That would be the most time consuming thing, because the build itself looks fairly straightforward.
Mike, how do they do it for Tin Mountain?
Well, I guess it depends on which site we're talking about. I believe for, and Jeff, maybe you know better than me, but I believe for Pine Hill Community Forest, I believe that they're putting footers on it, but maybe we haven't actually talked about that yet. Maybe that's something we should talk about later.
Probably is, because I don't think I know either.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
also
know.
Just looking at your approximate cost on the materials list, I mean, I would imagine all of that pressure treated lumber, or these are quite large. Yeah, it's all way higher than that. So
I think that the numbers I was working with were like from 2000, I don't remember, 19 or 18 or whatever they were.
It looks quite low.
Much more now. Yeah.
Do you know where you got the estimate from, or did you do it yourself, or?
No, the first estimate I sent around came from the ATC, I believe. But I can, because I got to talk to Paul Kale over at Kennett sometime in the next week, so I can get a better sense of pricing there. But yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what the current cost is. I have not priced it out.
I think if we just have a rough idea, that it doesn't have to be perfect for our request from the Wildcat Fund. We just have to, I think, give an estimate and then come close and provide receipts for what we do end up getting, from what I remember.
Okay. Well,
Jeff, excuse me. I just wanted to thank all of you. I know that you're really in meeting mode now, and I just wanted to give you an update. So I've got another Zoom meeting coming in, so I've got to go. But thank you so much for everything, and please keep us in the loop. We want to help as much as we can.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barb. Thanks for coming tonight.
Yep. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
all right, so here's what I'll do. I will, after this meeting tonight, I will send out those 3 bullet points so people can look at them. And then as soon as I hear back, give it a day or so. After that, I will contact Megaprint and tell them that we want to move forward with purchasing a sign. And then I can also, you know what I can also do is I think the blueprints are the ones that I sent from the ATC, and I didn't send the ones from Upper Saco, the ones that Matt, I think it was, no, it wasn't Matt Coughlin. Who was it? Yeah, I think it was Matt Coughlin actually who sent them to me. So I can send those around if we'd rather have a different kind of layout. And then I will also either talk to Paul. I'm not talking to Matt anytime soon, but I got to talk to Paul Kill anyway, so I can get a rough estimate on cost. And I will try and do all of that in the next, I don't know, so I have some time tomorrow. I can probably do it.
The vote that we take tonight, we can just incorporate approvals for that to be a request from the Wildcat Fund when the estimate is ready, alongside the other things that we're buying for the falls. So that sounds good to me.
You want a motion on that, Jeff?
I was just going to make it all as one motion after we discuss the other the other items we're talking about buying for the falls, and then we can just say all of these things are approved for an estimate to be submitted to the Wildcat Fund and purchased once that's approved. Does that make sense? My internet connection says it's unstable, so I don't know, give me a sign if I'm getting choppy or something. Okay, so I guess we should just move on to the other we talked about for the falls. And yeah, I had typed up my best summary of what we talked about doing this year. Some of them are things that we just need to do. Some of them involve things that we need to purchase. So I think, first of all, does anyone remember anything that I didn't that we talked about, or remember anything different from what I had written up in my email?
I guess I had a question about if going forward with a residence parking. I guess that's not relevant to a work day, but I guess, yeah, we'll skip that for now. That's something else. Sorry.
All right. Well, feel free to come back to it if you want.
Just wanted to say sorry I missed the meeting, everyone. I was up at Mitzvah Hut that night.
No problem. Any other additions to that list? Or there were a couple of specific questions I think I had. I mean, I think Brian had mentioned he could reach out to his friend to ask about chips.
He just emailed the group, and he can have those delivered anytime. So.
Oh, great. Okay.
And I did ask about getting the little bulldozer again, and so the little Bobcat.
All right.
And Bob Santoro said that he would be willing to donate his services again.
Oh, that's great.
It's a lot easier.
And Jeff, I think we were going to have some of the chips dumped down near where the main parking lot was, and then some up near where the handicap parking is. Is that correct?
Yeah, that sounds right. I can send a message to Brian letting him know that would be preferred.
And Jeff, it's not on your list, but who contacts the firm to put the porta potty in?
town.
Town does? Because I think, you know, if possible, it'd be good to have it in before Memorial Day weekend.
Just check in with the office about that.
I can add that to my list. As far as the fence that we talked about using to close off that one lower trail, I think we talked about it matching basically the fence that's along the parking area. Do we know where that came from? Is that Lucy's or?
Eastern Green installed it and they provided the material also. So we'd have to ask them to match or hire them to do it again.
Do we think, I mean, is that something that we would want to just do ourselves? Because it's just I think it would basically just be 2 posts and the 2 cross members. So I don't know.
I've got a post hole digger, so.
Yeah, I kind of doubt anyone will be comparing cedar post to cedar post if we chose a different cedar post. It's far enough away that you really can't see them unless you're really paying attention.
Yeah. Does the town have an account with Lucy?
I think
they do. If you, I think you have to let the town know, and then you're authorized, and then you have to pick up the materials within a day or something like that, or they just take it off the account again.
Okay. So I guess we could check with Lucy about fencing materials. I mean, unless we think it would be cost efficient to have Eastern Green do it. I don't know what that would involve, or whether that would even be something they'd, if it was just a small project like that.
I don't remember what all the other fence cost. They kind of were personally interested in doing it. The owner was.
Okay.
You know, so it's possible. I don't know if it was like exactly at cost, but they were definitely interested in doing the work. I think I mean, I know we don't need to like shop around cedar fencing, but I think the town does have accounts at a couple other fencing providers in town. Namely, what's the place down by Kennett, right next to Kennett High School?
Harris Farmers Union?
Yeah. So I think I remember like basically calling around once upon a time for all the different types of cedar fence. So if we wanted to try to match it, there are a couple options, I think.
Okay.
But Tom, I agree with you. Once they've weathered for a while, and the distance between them, trying to get a perfect match is probably a lot of time. I'm trying to achieve something that won't make much difference.
Okay, well, I can definitely call around and see what things cost. Again, probably more expensive than we'd want, but so be it.
Well, we do have the funds, and I think doing it ourselves would be a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
I suspect.
Let's see. I think the only other question I had on there was whether someone who has a chainsaw would be able to cut the big log in half, so we can move it to use half of it to block one end of that wet area and half of it to block the other.
I have a saw. I could cut it.
Okay, that'd be great. Do you think you'll just go down and do it at some point that is convenient, or do you want to do it all at the same time?
I guess when convenient, unless there's a particulars I need to know about how, or, you know, a big half, a little half, branch that, you know, whatever the particulars are. I assume this is like the big one that fell kind of in the lower part, closer to the big parking lot.
Yeah, it kind of fell in a perfect spot to block one end of the little wet area that we're talking about, where it seemed like people were crossing through, and would be good to, yeah, basically just do the same thing on the other side. So yeah, I think it's pretty clear which one once you get down there. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
And yeah, I mean, if it's, I don't know what that will take to move, so we can always wait to move it until there are more people down there. Okay, so I guess, Pam, would it be possible, based on your the information you compiled last year, to put together a cost estimate for the sod and the loam and all of that, and then I can try to get some information about the fencing? It sounds like Brian's handling the wood chips. So if you were able to put together a cost estimate for the plantings and everything, I could try to get some information for the fence, and we could compile it into one request for the Wentworth Fund, or the Wentworth Wildcat Fund.
Sure. I just have one kind of question for you guys. We did the first year we did the sod. We did like we got it from a farm Green Thumb Farm in, I think, Freiburg, and it was like a mixture of wintergreen and low bush blueberries and other stuff. And you can see things sticking straight out that are just wildflowers or something like that. The stuff we got last year was from another company, and I think they just grow it as low bush blueberry. So I didn't know how you guys felt about, the different types of sod you can get.
Did seem like there was a little more variety in the other one.
Okay.
I guess I didn't pay too close attention when we were down there last to which one seemed to be faring better. Did anyone get an idea for that, looking at the two plots?
No preferences?
Well, a lot of that stuff hadn't really greened up when we went by, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We really had an accurate assessment from when we did the site visit the other night.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think there's something to be said for getting the one with variety, because if there's a couple of plants in there that just aren't going to make it, and that's what the bulk of it is, then the whole thing poops out.
Yeah.
If we get one with some variety in it, even if some of it dies out, the other stuff will be there to fill in.
Okay. Kind of what I was thinking, but I wasn't sure how you guys felt. I mean, sometimes people like things to be uniform, and so.
There's a problem with blueberries is people see blueberries and then step over to go pick them.
Yeah. Not a terrible thing. I think that's okay, personally. As long as you don't make a path.
So it sounds like maybe Pam will shoot for the Green Thumb Farm.
Yeah, I'll check into them.
Okay. So you're comfortable putting together a rough cost estimate on that stuff, and I can get some information on the fencing?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds good. And we can try to put in a request within the next week or so, maybe, so we can get out there maybe 2 weeks, in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks
to do the work.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about getting stuff delivered pretty quickly. Okay.
I guess I was operating under the same assumption that it would be good to do it before Memorial Day, but if that doesn't make sense for any reason, then we can adjust. My other thought was trying to do it earlier in the year when it's not quite so hot and dry.
Yeah, so the plant is not such a hard thing to establish the plants. Yep. Good point.
Does that timing make sense to everyone else? Would people be available in a couple weeks to go out there for a few hours?
I can try.
Like,
it gets kind of busy for me in the next like 3 weeks. But.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can throw a couple days out there and see what works for people.
And we can always get a pile of sod. I mean, it's not loam delivered, and it can just sit there.
Yeah. And I guess maybe Pam, maybe it'll be more dictated by when they're actually able to deliver it. I don't know. Maybe they can do it right away.
They're usually very flexible about that. That's usually not the issue. It's, you know, it's coordinating our efforts.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe I'll try also in the next week or so to throw out a few afternoons and see what works for the most people, and then we can see if it can be delivered by then. Excellent. But I'll shoot for a couple weeks out.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Pam.
Thanks, Jeff.
So I guess we take a vote to approve either Pam or I to submit a request to the Wentworth Wildcat Fund, which would incorporate estimates for the sod and planting materials, the fencing, and then the sign, as well as kiosk materials. So I'll make that motion to approve submitting a request to the Wentworth Wildcat Fund for all of those things to be purchased and installed at the falls. Is there a second?
I second it.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor, Ken?
Yes.
Tom?
Yep.
Mike?
Aye.
Ben?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So we'll get that in. All right. Let's see. Ken, I think in your email you let me know that you'd plan to have a draft management plan for Prospect Farm ready for review in June. Anything else to discuss on that tonight?
No, I think you've summarized it correctly.
Great. And then let's see, Grazing. So honestly, I had intended to ask for an update from Bill Terry prior to this meeting, and I don't have one. I actually did try to join for the meeting a couple of weeks ago, and for whatever reason could not get into the Zoom, and so was not able to attend the meeting, and intended to follow up and just haven't gotten around to it. So I apologize for that, but I can reach back out to Bill. I know that there was a presentation made. I did read the minutes. I don't know if anyone else has any additional information on that subject. Sorry for not being able to follow up on that as I intended to.
Jeff, I did ask my wife, who's also on the planning board, and I think it's pretty much what was summarized in the meeting minutes, which was, it was a presentation, but there were no motions or anything to proceed with anything.
Okay. Yeah, that's the impression I got as well. Sounds like it'll continue to be a topic of discussion and one that we can follow. And yeah, I'll try to keep in the loop a little bit better and see if Bill has any additional information that I can share with everyone. So I think that's it for that, unless anyone else has anything on Grazing.
This is about the housing in there?
Yes.
Right.
It's a very difficult situation. The utility lines come across the back there to the library. I don't know I don't think anybody's really plotted out how it could happen, what the road access would be. So there's a lot of things that people should question before it pushes too far ahead. Although the idea of also considering the property at Grazing Garage would be a consideration.
What is the Grazing Garage?
I was wondering the same thing.
What is it?
Across from the library?
The one
It's a
the
big,
water precinct used to.
Next to Flossie's. As you come through the covered
Yeah.
bridge, it's on your left.
Okay, yeah.
Looks like a big garage.
Yeah. With the good swimming hole behind it.
Yes.
Complete with leeches.
But I mean, I'm not sure if that property is really being utilized to its max. Yes, it houses some storage for the highway department. I think the library had donated books in the front office section for a while. But, you know, it's not really utilized. So it might be an area that we could consider for housing.
Nice. Thanks for the info, Dick. Any further discussion on Gray's Inn?
Oh, I had one other thought on the Gray's Inn property. If there's potential for a trail to go from the tennis court parking lot below the library back along the stream. I thought when that area was originally cleared, there was a path or a trail that went up along that to the old dam, but that I don't know. I think it would be nice if people could walk, you know, in there from the parking lot. So it'd be something to think about.
You know how wet that is, Dick? Going up along the stream?
There's wet spots, but I don't think it's, I think there's more like the vernal pool, and there is a boggy area up actually closer in, you know, a couple, say 100 yards in. I think there's a wet spot, but I think you could wind a trail through there on good ground.
Mike and Pam, you can correct me if my memory's off here, but when we did the Mystery House loop, the idea, right, was you would walk from that parking lot kind of up through the lawn, but there's like a little side spur over to that dam where there was an interpretive sign or still is an interpretive sign. So maybe not along the water per se, but at least a spot on it.
Yeah, I thought there used to be a trail from the tennis court parking lot that Dick's talking about, and I thought there was a sign there and everything.
there was, I haven't seen it or I haven't looked for it, but there was definitely a sign at the end of the parking lot, like a little trail sign, like a temporary trail sign we put up. So it's probably not there anymore. And there was an interpretive sign. And I don't know if I saw it. We were just there not that long ago. And I think I didn't see it. I wasn't looking for it, so I'm not sure. I know that the path is not evident anymore. Because when we walked by, I remember thinking like, oh, I used to be able to walk there.
Just looking for more work for you.
Is that something we think we'd want to reestablish?
I think it would be really beneficial, because if you could get people wanting to park in the lower parking lot there and then access the trail system out back, I think it would be good. I think it would encourage people to use that area.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think sometimes if you were to park at the old tennis court, it's not entirely clear that you should walk behind the library and kind of across the field and then re-enter.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think it is. It's not obvious that would be the way to access the rest of the trail system.
Sounds like it might be worth walking to see if the signs we put up are still there and if we need new signs. I think it was Larry, right, who had all that stuff printed. So I could look through my computer to see if I even have a copy of it anymore, but I don't know. I can try to do that.
Does someone want to go do some recon?
I can walk it at some point.
Okay.
I don't mind doing that. Now that I think about it, it was Christmas bird count, so it was a long time ago that that was 5 months ago that I walked it. So I can walk it again.
Cool. So maybe we can circle back to that in June if you're able to get out there between now and then. Sounds good. All right. Is that everything for grazing? All right. So moving on to conservation easements, I just wanted to let everyone know about a few emails that I exchanged with Marjorie Waite, who is one of the trustees of the Highland Farm Trust. I believe, maybe, yeah. That is Burgess. Am I correct in that? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, one of the trustees of the Highland Farm Trust had reached out basically asking about their remaining rights as they're laid out in the conservation easement for that property or for those properties. And I did some digging, looked through the files that we had, and then ended up reaching out to the Forest Society to see if they had some other information that we didn't. And so got passed on the conservation deed for one of the lots that I couldn't find information that we had on file. And so I've saved that, and I looped Brian into the conversation and showed him where those files are. They're in the shared conservation easements folder for the CC. But essentially what it came down to is that on one of the parcels, there is a retained right to construct a residence at a location agreeable to the town or agreed upon by the Conservation Commission in the town, something to that effect. And it doesn't sound to me like they have any intention of doing that immediately. But I did let them know that was within the rights that are laid out in the conservation easement. And it sounds like that was just information that Marjorie was going to take back to the rest of the members of the trust. And I let them know that if at some point in the future they intended to do that, it would require an approval process through the town. And I think they were understanding of that. And largely, I think they've gotten the information they were looking for, and that's pretty much it. So just wanted to let everyone know about that.
Do you know if they were interested in the the kind of below Moody Farm Burgess property lot, or is it the Highland Farm, the above Moody Farm by the fire pond?
So it is the one that is not the tricky parcel. If that helps. I'm not too familiar with the property, and so I go back and look. I believe it was the smaller of the two. There was one that was something like 72 acres, and which was the tricky parcel, I believe. And then there was the Burgess. Maybe it was just Burgess. That was something I want. It was 30, but I could be wrong on that.
I think that's the one that's like north on the Black Mountain side of Moody Farm Road, like opposite the Burgess, what I think it was the Burgess house. They've got like there's a fire pond, and then there's like there's like old trail systems, old ski touring system back there. So I think that's what they're talking about then on that side of the road. Just curious.
Yeah. Okay. So like I said, it didn't sound like they had immediate plans, but it might be something they want to, a right they want to exercise in the future.
One thing you should clarify when you can is when they say the, approval of the Conservation Commission and the town, is that the selectmen or is that a town meeting? That could be a real sticky point. And it would just, I only bring it up as a heads up to get it clarified ahead of time rather than them going into it with the idea that, well, we could probably get approval. And if it's, if it has to go to town meeting, they should really be prepared for that.
Yeah, that is a good point. I don't know off the top of my head. I believe that it just said town in the language, but yeah, that does leave it fairly vague. So that may be something that a lawyer would have to interpret.
Right.
But,
logically, to me, it would be approval of the Conservation Commission and the selectmen acting for the town. But logic doesn't always dictate what happens.
Right. I'm trying to quickly scroll to that email, see if there was. As for the Burgess property, which is well, I don't want to get too far into the weeds here, but anyway, it does, the language is at a location agreeable to the town. So yeah, certainly it seems like there would need to be some interpretation there. The Forest Society representative did say, my sense is that if the trust would like to exercise this right, it would require some communication and notice to the Jackson Conservation Commission, Select Board, and perhaps SPNF as the executory interest holders. And I forwarded all of that on to Marjorie, who had been asking. So just an FYI, I guess. In general, if there are things that folks look for the conservation easements, I think the society was pretty good in getting me electronic copies of things. So if you find you're missing something for the property that you monitor, either let me know or reach out to Abraham Ames is his name at the Forest Society, and he got me information really quickly. So yeah, just an FYI. Okay, I think that is it. Let me check the agenda one more time. Yep, that's it, unless there's any public comment or new business from anyone on the commission.
Jeff, Dick because Dick will be stepping down as selectman, and he'd offered to be an alternative on this Conservation Commission. Are there any steps we need to take to have that happen?
From what I remember,
I have to put in a letter of my interest. If the opening is there, I suppose you could, I've never known a board or a commission to reject a volunteer, but I suppose that could happen. But it's appointed by the selectmen, and I would put that letter into the selectmen and go from there.
Yeah, from what I remember in our conversations, we were all agreeable to that idea, and we're willing to support that letter when it comes time, when you want to do that, Dick. Do we need to, I guess, would the select board need to add an alternate slot to the Conservation Commission roster, or is it just by appointing you as an alternate, there becomes an alternate slot?
I think the alternate slots are there by RSA.
Okay.
I think if you read the RSAs for conservation commissions, that's already in place. As best I could tell, when the Conservation Commission was first organized, they just implemented the RSAs. So I think the whole process is already there. I don't think you have to vote anything on the board or create any new position or new wording. So I think it's pretty straightforward.
Great. Yeah, well, let me or us know when it's time to do that, and if we need to write anything to support your addition, unless anyone has any objection. I feel like like I said, our conversations were generally that we would all approve of that. So.
All right, well, I'd wait till after town meeting, and then that's when I am done selecting, and I would put my letter of intent in at that time.
All right, that sounds good.
Dick, you might want to just give the other selectmen a heads up.
I believe I did tell them that, so I'll make sure that they're apprised of what my intentions are.
All right, any other new business or public comment?
I was just gonna say that in the past 10 minutes, I emailed everybody the verbiage for the sign, as well as the draft vector map from Larry with a couple of my suggestions, and as well as also something that has, like, I don't know, 10 attachments on it, which is an alternate kiosk plans from Trail Recon Design, which is Matt Coughlin's company. So there's lots of things to peruse through if you wish to give any comment on them.
Great, thanks, Mike.
Your deadline is what, Mike? Tomorrow night?
Yeah, let's go with tomorrow night. At least for the words. Let's go with tomorrow night. And that way I can at least get the actual sign going. Because, you know, worst case scenario, we can just stick it on 2 posts. You know, like you can do something temporary if we feel like it should be there Memorial Day weekend. And the sign, I believe, would be protected enough to be out in the air for just that time until a kiosk is built, and then can get, you know, under some sort of roofing and that sort of thing. So I think there are some temporary options available. They even have, like, really cheap options. Like if we wanted to get 2 signs, and one was like the temporary one that we're going to stick on 2 posts right there until the full one is ready to get installed. And I can look into that as well.
Sounds good. All right, well, hearing nothing else, I guess I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Oh, Dick?
I can't second that yet.
Second that, okay, thanks.
But I agree with it.
I'll second it.
You can't second it, right. Okay, so Ken is seconding. All Any further discussion? All right, I'll go through the list. Mike, all
Aye.
those in favor? Mike?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Pam?
Yes.
I'm a yes, so meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
I'm
Jeff.
kind of hoping we
Okay.
can do in-person meeting at some
Thanks.
point, but I think there's some logistics to figure out, so keep doing this for now.
Good progress. Thanks.
Have a good night.
Aye.
Everyone, thanks, Jeff.